So yeah, today I continued playing Bonelab, the game which in 5 days generated way too much interest in my channel. Last time we escaped a YouTube approved execution, completed too many physics puzzles, and got launched into the void. It was pretty cool. This is the episode where I finished the game, because trilogies are for people who abide by the rules and I'm a criminal in several countries, so let's get right into it. I start in front of a door that tells me that opening the door without knocking is rude, even though I haven't even opened the door yet. I try to knock and the door swings open, but at least I tried. There's some MP5Ks which I completely ignore, but more importantly there's an Omni projector right through the doorway. For some reason I decide not to use bullets again and knock the big fella out with a sledgehammer. I thought there was only about 3 Omni projectors in the room, but eventually there are something like much more than that, and my Glock isn't even loaded, but fortunately my gun skills are passable and I send these nerds back to Chernobyl. After moving through a vent and very satisfyingly knocking it open on the other side, I grab a polite looking shotgun and get to work because there's even more guys with guns. I went through the footage and I killed 11 while barely even moving from this section of the hallway, which is honestly pretty ridiculous. It was like I was playing COD Zombies with camping strategies. Anyway, I press on, executing a spider and then climbing an obscene amount of stairs before I find a key in a room with these cheeky fellas, aka null bodies. It opens this door where a spider leaps out at me through a vent, but I only get about 2 frames of it because I was distracted by the balls. On the other side of that vent there's a room that looks out onto a big guy recording a podcast, the cheeky Joe Rogan wannabe. There's a null body in the naughty corner, so I knock him over and take him down, which prompts his purple counterpart to blow open the door, giving me a small fright and giving him a reason to get plastic surgery. I jump down a hole and end up in the back rooms or something, but to my dismay it's not as fun as I was led to believe. I break some outdated electronics and then talk to Joe Rogan. He tells me to go and unlock avatars, and then I get flung at Mark III into an elevator and sent to the next level. So yeah, this is the part where I complete short challenges to get avatars, so I'm going to speed through these like I do in school zones. The first avatar I play as is this buff guy, yet the only thing that hits harder than his punches are the insults about his bald head. This level was my favourite because I got to do some cool combat and defeated the final enemy by smashing a computer onto his head. The next avatar is the fast ninja woman, who you might recognise from every Bonelab thumbnail in existence. All I have to do is run and jump across these bridges, but the map is having an indie horror game moment and there's only stock ambient wind sound effects. Next we have this guy who hits like a truck but walks like a tank. I just have to protect a monument from waves of enemies. It's pretty simple stuff. That's half the avatar secured. Then there's this short cat thing, whose only redeeming quality is being short. I'm on the moon for some reason, and I have to find the exit myself. It took a long time because I'm not a goddamn cartographer, and my stubby legs aren't suited for running in reduced gravity. Yeah, no, the next avatar is a goddamn anime girl. I wasn't sure about the avatar system when I heard it was going to be in the game, and this isn't helping. I get to race a car though, so that's pretty nice of them. Finally we have the tall guy, who I get to play as for 1/6 of the level, because every time you get hit by a bird thing, it switches characters for you. Even to the short guy who made it impossible to progress. This level almost made me rage quit 1 or 2 or 11 times. After all the blood, pit stains and mental breakdowns, I make it back to Big Fella, who gives me a pat on the back and tells me I can switch avatars now. He also gives me a key and then sends me back to the lab. He's definitely father figure of the year, guy of the year. The key unlocks a door with pneumatic locks or something. I wouldn't know. I definitely haven't planned a bank robbery before, I promise. Some computer voice tells me that altering Boneworks' memory will result in catastrophic instability, but the guy with the podcast told me to do it, and you always have to believe people with podcasts. I break the box with my trusty sledgehammer, and I fly upwards. This game is probably an assessment for the US Air Force. Once I get to the top, I have to become the big guy to fondle this ball to an open door, leading to another room with the same premise, but this time with skeletons that throw fireballs. Again I roll the ball to the switch, and this time the door leads me to a room with the same premise but with 2 balls. After I do that, I enter the next room, which has the same premise but with 1 ball, saws and skeletons. I love how they've made each room unique with these tweaks. This is what I paid $40 for. Finally, I reach a room that isn't made of grass and doesn't have as many balls in it, instead having a couple of weapons. I yoink an FAB and an M9 because only psychopaths wouldn't. That's just how the world works. There's also a lot of enemies around, and I'm probably speaking for everybody when I say thank God they aren't skeletons. They really took the bone in Bonelab too far. I do some work with the M9 before stumbling into a room with skeletons and grass. I'm very close to actually losing it. Thankfully though, it's a parkour section, which I can respect, and they even treat me to a little bit of zero gravity. Anyways, I stumble across a skeleton having a nice time relaxing on a lawn chair and listening to some experimental music or something. I'd leave him be, but he is a skeleton, so I clobber him with a bottle and again with an axe. There was a key for the door in his icebox, so we'll call this one an unavoidable death. The next room has a physics puzzle, which you probably don't want to hear about, but it also leads into a sewer. I become the tall guy to get over the potentially hazardous green liquid, and also throw an enemy at an enemy. It's very cool. This whole level seems to be one where you have to use each of the avatars to progress, so good thing I brought all of them. Just kidding, I didn't bring the short guy because he sucks, and the next puzzle needs me to use him. Instead, I awkwardly crawl through some small pipes where they drop spiders from above, but eventually I escape. I have to switch some batteries to activate zero gravity, which allows me to glide with the grace of a pigeon across a chasm into danger. It's a bunch of null bodies, and I'd like to take a moment to appreciate how caked up they are. I don't know how they did it. The next area was a shooting section that passed through a vaporwave themed dance party for some reason, and wound up at a metro station with more null bodies who are done with waiting around to die from 9 till 5 and are now heading home. They want that overtime though, so I am forced to engage, and in the scuffle one of them winds up on the tracks. I wave goodbye as an automated electric vehicle commits a war crime. Don't let Elon Musk see this video. I then realize that I have to run along the tracks to the next stop, so I become the fast avatar and start running. I make it to some kind of maintenance platform with more enemies, but more importantly there's more running to do, and anticlimactically I get hit by the train and die. I have more luck on my second attempt, and we're out of the subway and somehow in a mine shaft now. Even the enemies have miner outfits on, but it would be much more funny if their intent wasn't malicious. Also, don't ask me what my final goal is. It's a linear story and I slept through the lore drops. There's a big empty room, and when I step into the middle, a platform starts lifting me up without my consent. I probably missed an item or something, but I don't want to accidentally sequence break the game, so up we go I guess. It takes me to the village where they tried to hang me, and I'm greeted by a woman who yells threats and then trips over the slightly raised edge of the lift. The dramatic music then kicks in, and yeah, I just clear the town because they are adamant on using their fists, even though there's plenty of weapons around. I reach a house which I empty out with Uzis before I politely lay them out on a table, and then I cross a bridge and open a door and find peace. But then something starts breaking through the ceiling, and Big Podcast Guy is back to lift me out of there with his finger. After a very long ride with uplifting music and an uncomfortable view of our boy's Mr. Fantastic looking arms, I reach an empty plane where he waits for me in his taxi. Of course the door on my side is locked though. What did I expect? He does host a podcast, but I eventually get in and he drives me to my new home. This may be my longest video on my channel, but hey, that's what I get for not wanting to make a goddamn trilogy. Thanks for watching, and also thanks to all of you who showed up in the past week. I did only invite maybe 20 people, but you're all welcome here. I'll see you next week.